This is from Justin to Kane, a podcast where Mike Robertson and Bob LaRue watch one critically acclaimed film and one terrible film and talk about how they are the same.
Sometimes the past should be left to memory, to gather dust within the covers of recorded time.
In 100 years, I'll have my revenge on your great-granddaughter.
Whoever finds the secret of the South Sea Queen will live in great danger of his soul.
Oh, yes, I will.
But how was she to know? Meet Tanya, an American anthropologist who travels to Indonesia in search of truth. What she finds is that the legend of the South Sea Queen is more than a story. It is her fate.
Oh, God, I need a woman!
A tale of possession, revenge, insatiable desire, and an evil that will not die.
Thank you.
Erica.
That woman cannot die because she has the spirit of the South Sea Queen. So I knew the South Sea Queen has reincarnated.
Where is Erica? Where?
Damn, she got bit!
But don't worry, I'll protect you.
Hi, Max. How you doing? Let's kick ass.
She is the South Sea Queen. She is.
But yeah, Sound of Metal was amazing. It definitely should have won Best Picture, I think.
Agreed.
I feel pretty strongly. The whole time I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, this is way better than Nomadland.
Yeah, I know.
And I know they're different films and blah, 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 but just from a impactfulness standpoint, Sound of Metal had a lot more to say and do.
And also, Sound of Metal is of the Derek Cianfrance kind of family of filmmakers, it sounds like. So
yeah,
I can see why it appeals to you for that reason.
Well, and it said special thanks to Derek Cianfrance in the credits.
He came up with the idea.
Oh, really?
Well, let's talk about it in the pod.
Oh, I guess you have info. Yeah, like who the hell directed this and shit?
Oh, we can get into it. So,
should we introduce the show?
Yes.
Jesus, we've never done this before, so we're just trying to find our footing here, people. Hey, everyone, welcome back to From Justin and Kane. What's up, Mike?
Nothing. Nothing's up. Just having a chill-ass weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mike through Zoom. He's lounging on a bed in some lingerie as we record this episode.
Uh-huh.
He's making very sexy eyes at me, which is kind of a nice little detail for everyone at home.
Come hither eyes, they are called.
Holy shit. I love it. Okay. What are the two movies we're doing?
Oh, yeah. So the two movies are 2020's Sound of Metal, which is the good movie in our podcast.
Yes.
And then Lady Terminator.
From 1989.
From 1989. It's an Indonesian film.
Yes. It's called Lady Terminator or Pembalasan Ratu Pantai Selaton. I do not speak this language. I didn't say it right, but it means Revenge of the South Sea Queen. So there's 3 titles for it.
Yeah. So apparently this is an iconic bad movie also, which I did not know about until I saw this movie.
It's a cult film, and it did really well. Like it's been in multiple festivals and stuff after its release. Like it's sort of found a resurgence, especially in the early aughts. Yeah,
people in the post The Room world, people become obsessed with trying to find the next kind of dumpster fire that is so fun to watch. So this is kind of, I would say this is of that same ilk as The Room, maybe.
It is, and it was fun. Like, it's especially fun because it's almost like a drinking game to be like, how many scenes are almost shot for shot the exact same scene from James Cameron's Terminator?
Exactly, yeah.
But they just have a strange context, and they really force it. Like, they're really, really forcing it.
So this came out like 2 years after the original Terminator.
The first film, yeah, but before the second one.
Right.
It came out in 1989 in the United States, but it was released, I think, 2 years earlier in just Indonesia.
Oh, so like Terminator was a big hit, and then they made a remake, parody / whatever it is kind of movie.
Well, actually, I have it's called a mockbuster.
Right. Oh, of course.
So a mockbuster, also known as a knockbuster or a drafting opportunity, it's a film that just exploits the publicity of an already existing film, but they try to release it at the exact same time or just after the release of the original film.
Right.
And they often share nothing in plot, but they'll have similar design for like the cover of the film as well as the title. And it like, you know, I think Troll 2 is a good example because Troll 2 was a mockbuster of some other movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's lots of examples, but they try to release it and literally, wait, let me read this thing. So it's a film created with the intention of exploiting the publicity of another major motion picture with a similar title or subject. Mockbusters are often made with a low budget and quick production to maximize profit. Unlike films that are produced to capitalize on the popularity of a recent release by adopting similar genre or storytelling elements, mockbusters are generally produced concurrently with upcoming films and released direct-to-video at the same time as the real film reaches cinemas or video outlets.
Yeah, right.
A mockbuster may be similar enough in title, packaging, etc., in hopes that consumers confuse it with the actual film it mimics. But the producers maintain that they're simply offering additional products for consumers who want to watch additional films in the same subgenre.
Yeah,
so it's really just, you know, it's dumb.
There's like a famous company called Asylum that makes mockbusters, pretty much. Mm-hmm. They're responsible for Sharknado, but they made like Transmorphers is a big one, where they basically just did Transformers, but you know, it's Transmorphers this time.
It's like when you see cereal in a grocery store and there's like the real cereal, it says Cheerios, and then it'll be the fake one and it'll say Lupos.
Yeah.
Or Circlos, or, you know, just something stupid, or like Fruit Loops, and it's like Fruity Hoops. Just shit like that.
Well, Paul Newman's Numinos are, I guess, kind of like a mockbuster cookie.
The man's a fraud.
He truly is.
You heard it here, people. Paul Newman's a fraud. But Numinos are delicious, I've been told by Mike.
The official cookie from Justin DeCane, I'd say.
Yeah. You know what? If you're not listening to this episode and you got a nice crisp glass of Faygo and some delicious Numinos to dip them in, you just don't. You know, you're listening to this podcast wrong.
Yeah, Numinos pair really well with Faygo while listening to from Justin DeCane. It's a great experience. I mean, tell me more about Lady Terminator.
Oh, sure. Let's start with me. So it's released in 1989. It's an Indonesian film. The lead actress, Barbara Ann Constable,
Yes.
is not an actor. So she was like in Australian Penthouse. She was like a model. She like posed nude for stuff. She was a dancer, not an actor. They offered her this film. They told her that it would only be released in Indonesia, and that's why she took it. They lied, and it was released internationally, and so it became this cult classic that she never hoped would happen, but it did. She only took it because she's like, oh, that'll be nice to just have a film in Indonesia that no one will ever see. It's strange. It's the only movie she ever did, but here are some fun quotes. She only took the role because she was told that the film was for local Indonesian market only. The whole script was very weird when I read it, and to boot, it was a ripoff of Terminator, which was a massive American film that had great acclaim. I felt that there was no harm in doing such a film for the local Indonesian market if it gave the people there some thrills. But come on, it's not like it exposes me in the best light. If I was going to do a film for the international market, I would have only done it willingly if it was a credible script and had some decent actors and actresses in it. I understand Lady T, which we should start calling it, has become a cult film in the US and UK and other European countries, but I think that this has happened due to the sheer insanity of the film and therefore its comedic entertainment value.
Nice. Good analysis of the film.
Yeah, she broke it down pretty good. The film has nothing to do with Terminator, plot-wise, but there are multiple scenes that are almost verbatim the original film.
Well, it's weird because is she a robot in the movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, she's a sea monster, or like a sea lady.
Because there's a scene where she kind of cuts her eye out, like in the Terminator.
Exactly. Well, that's why this is such a stretch, right? Because it's like they shove these scenes into a film that has nothing to do with anything that like from the original Terminator film. So it just doesn't make any sense. And that eyeball scene was the most, like, that was the biggest stretch because she cuts out her eyeball, washes it underwater, and just goes like right back in, just pops it back in so she can shoot lasers. But she's obviously not a robot. She's like a demented monster demon from the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are lasers in the context of a sea demon?
Who knows? But here's some fun quotes. So on the making of Lady Terminator, 1989, she said, everybody was smoking joints on the set. People were off their nuts. I don't know how they got anything done. Another fun quote. So she did all of her own stunts in the film. She cut open her foot. They had to stop shooting for a week. She had to get her foot stitched up.
Oh, yeah, right. I read that.
And they just paid her anyways. And they had to take a big break. And so she got hurt multiple times. But here's a quote. She said, I had so many near misses, like half car bodies flying and missing me by 2 centimeters. I nearly got killed so many times during that film. They filmed it in Indonesia, and there are like no rules in terms of safety and shit like that. So obviously they could kind of get away with more versus other countries.
Right.
But she also said, and this was much later down the road, she said, I've seen it since with friends over a few drinks and just laughed all the way through it. It's a crack up. People were like, that's you? That's weird. I know. So I think her relationship to the film started out and was quite like contentious, and she probably regretted doing it, but has since, found a love for the film.
Right.
Or has like come to appreciate it. There's another quote, which I can't find anymore, but it's addressing all the nudity. And all she said was, I had no problem with the nudity. I was super young, super hot, and super in shape. And I was a dancer and posed nude multiple times. And she basically enjoyed doing the nudity because she was like so proud of the great shape she was in.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well,
so
good for her.
That's kind of a cool take. Yeah. So she didn't feel exploited or anything. And even since like subsequent viewings and stuff, she's like, no, I'm into it. It's a great, like, I look great, so fuck it, basically.
Yeah,
it's her stance.
That makes sense that would be her attitude. Yeah, even though it's very gratuitous, like almost every other scene basically that she's in, she just kind of is getting naked because she has to have sex with somebody for some reason and kill them.
Oh, so here's a fun so the poster says Lady Terminator, and it's her like stacked multiple times holding an M16 rifle, and it's the like banner of the film is she mates, then she terminates.
That's right. Classic.
And it's because basically through an ill-defined process, penises get ripped off post or mid-coitus. I guess it's because she's the queen of the South Sea, an ancient sex goddess. So, like, it's not dissimilar to, like, mermaids. You know how, like, mermaids can, like, like, lure you in and kill you and try to seduce you? That's basically what she is. But she's a Lady Terminator. She's not a robot, but she does a lot of robot-esque things, like shoot lasers from her eyes.
I'm trying to come up with a good tagline for The Sound of Metal that rhymes. Like, he drums, and then he has no eardrums. That's not good.
That's pretty good.
It's
Here's
okay.
what I was thinking. Like, what is the sound of metal? Well, you certainly can't hear the kettle.
Mm-hmm.
That's one.
Did you see that on the poster? And people are like, what does the kettle have to do with anything?
It rhymes. Shut up. I worked really hard on that slogan. But yeah, I mean, there was not a lot of information on this film. I mostly had to glean things from interviews. I do think it's interesting she did this one film and that's it.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild. That's rare. I feel like most films, people who like dabble in acting will at least, if they have one success and they have like terrible credits after that, they just keep stabbing at it.
Well, why was she in Indonesia?
She wasn't. She was in Australia and they offered her the movie.
Oh, she's Australian.
She's Australian.
So yeah, they offered her the movie. She's like, well, I can't say no.
And I guess they're in the Southern Hemisphere, right? Indonesia's in the Southern Hemisphere, so it's like close enough.
Yeah, okay.
Proximity wise, like it'd be too expensive to get people from the States.
Yeah.
Why wasn't Olivia Newton-John in this film?
I know, that's the eternal question.
Yeah. I wonder if she was offered it and she was like, fuck no, mate, I'm not taking that role.
Wait, is that all the information you have on this movie?
That's all I got, buddy. I know, pretty dog shit, but the Wikipedia page is called a stub because it's so short.
It's a cult movie now.
Yes, and it's circulated like a whole bunch of underground film festivals, and it's really like it had a resurgence in the VHS era.
Yeah,
and it became like a coveted film for a lot of people. And it is in the echelon of great, terrible films. Like you have The Room, Plan 9 from Outer Space, and this film. They're all kind of like in the same category of like shitty but super fun.
Who directed it?
A guy named, I'm gonna butcher this. So directed by Jute Jalil.
Okay.
And he's directed like a bunch of Indonesian films, but I think so. Like one called Mystics in Bali.
Yeah.
And but they're all basically like horror mock films.
Yeah.
And that was his whole career.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the classic thing of bad movies that we talk about that are genre films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like this film called Mystics in Bali, it's like on the sleeve of the DVD, it says the Holy Grail of Asian cult cinema.
Oh,
like
nice.
he knew what he was doing. He's famous for supernatural horror films, and they would always star Australians, and then also the dubbing would be done by Australian actors. So if you heard like, I think a lot of the English would be sort of Australian, or they would try to cover it up. I don't know.
Yeah, the dubbing in this movie was wild. Like it was all dubbed in English. It seemed like some of the actors were speaking English and then they dubbed it in English, and then other people weren't speaking English and they dubbed it in English. And it was, yeah, that's part of the charm, I feel like, is that how poorly dubbed it is.
Yes,
or how robotic
absolutely.
the dubbing is. It's kind of part of the fun.
It is super fun. I love the line, "We've seen more dead bodies than you've eaten hot dogs, so shut up and eat."
Oh yeah, right.
That
great.
was Italian chef kiss. That was a great fucking line of dialogue. And I was like, what was it in Indonesian? Like, I'm sure it was something way better than that.
No, that's word for word the quote from like that's just a classic idiom in Indonesia apparently.
Oh, I see. But yeah, fun movie. I don't have a ton of information, but it's one of those obscure cult classics that, there are no production notes on it because it wasn't made in North America.
But like the plot is that she is like a sea witch.
Oh, yeah. Let me give a brief synopsis. So there's an a master student who goes to Indonesia to research. She's an anthropologist of all things, which doesn't necessarily make sense. And she hires a boat because she has to go find this, like, dive where this sea witch is. And then she dives there, and then the boat that takes her gets flipped over by a giant wave. And then she emerges from the ocean, and she's being taken over by the sea witch, or sea goddess. But they depict it by having a snake just like crawl inside of her, and now she's possessed.
Yeah, and the sea witch wants to get revenge on somebody in the far future.
Yes, right? So there's a cutscene at the beginning where I forget what happens. Something. I watched this movie in 2 sittings, and I finished it today. What was the first part? Because she's like, "I'm going to curse your daughter, your great granddaughter, or something."
Well, he steals a ghost snake from her, I think,
right,
is what the synopsis says.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the sea witch is like, "You stole my ghost snake. I'm going to get revenge on your great granddaughter." And
right.
then instead of just like getting revenge on him in the moment, she decides to like just avenge the family. Not unlike
it's
a certain
super similar
film.
to Leprechaun.
Yeah, Leprechaun 2.
Yes.
AKA Deucey Lep. Yeah.
So anyways, and then this anthropology master's student is the great granddaughter, and she gets possessed. And then as soon as she's possessed and becomes this sea witch goddess lady, that's when the Terminator mirroring starts to happen.
No, I thought the great granddaughter was the pop star that kept singing songs in the movie.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes way more sense. Then this poor anthropology student just stumbled into getting possessed?
Yeah, it was just kind of accidental.
Oh, that's bad place, bad time, hey?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, that makes way more sense. Oh my God, the whole time I was like, why is she chasing this one woman? Oh, that makes way more sense.
It's like when we watched Deucey Lep, it didn't make any sense. Why the leprechaun was like, "I'm going to avenge your great granddaughter or whatever," and then comes back in the future and is just chasing after this random person.
Yeah,
it's kind of stupid, but that's part of the fun.
Absolutely, and there's some great chases, and honestly, the action is not bad.
No, there was actually some pretty good action scenes. I was surprised.
And like cool explosions.
Yeah, considering how slipshod it sounds like the production was, it's kind of surprising how well done the action scenes are some of the time.
And the car chases and stuff. Yeah. It's impressive. Like, they put a lot of work into it.
It seems like it. Cool. Well, I mean, I can talk about Sound of Metal.
Yeah, let's do it. There's way more to talk about with Sound of Metal than this shitty movie we watched.
So, Sound of Metal came out in 2020. Was directed by a guy named Darius Marder, who is a filmmaker who kind of has spent a lot of time just trying to get movies made with not great success, but he co-wrote the movie The Place Beyond the Pines in 2012 with his colleague Derek Cianfrance, who, directed that film and is known for Blue Valentine and some other movies, I guess.
And this much I know is true, the HBO miniseries with Mark Ruffalo, which is amazing.
That's correct. The origin of the movie is that Cianfrance had been working on a documentary / fictional film, like it's, I guess, a fictional film in the documentary style, called Metalhead, which he was basically filming like a fake documentary about this same story about a metal drummer who goes deaf after his eardrums get ruptured. So he was filming with a real band called Jucifer, and he started like working on this back in 2009, and it kind of didn't pan out after a while, so he kind of abandoned it, started working on other stuff. For example, The Place Beyond the Pines. And then Darius Marder, which is Cianfrance's friend, always liked the idea, and so he's like, you know what? Can I take this one? And so Derek Cianfrance gave him the idea and let him run with it. So he wrote it with his brother Abraham. Yeah, so they made this movie over the last couple of years, very, very small budget, and they filmed it in Boston. Also, a large number of the cast members were actually deaf and from the deaf community, and Marder would prioritize working with actors who kind of had connections to the deaf community. For example, Robert Duvall was supposed to be the character Joe, who helps Rhiz Ahmed's character at the deaf camp or whatever it is that they're at when he's in deaf rehab, I guess. So Martyr himself turned down Robert Duvall, even though Robert Duvall wanted to be in it, and chose that Paul Raci guy, who I guess was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, was he? He was great.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah,
he was astounding. That one scene when he tells him to leave.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so good, and it was really understated. Like, it was such a subtle scene and so powerful.
That could have been Robert Duvall. Tom Hagen.
I don't think it would have sung the same way, Yeah.
No, exactly. So he was Robert Duvall was kind of passed over because he didn't really have any sort of connection to the deaf community. Because I guess Darius Martyr, his grandma, I think, was deaf. So he had some family connection to the story, or he had experience with it. So I think that was what kind of drew him to it. The film was produced by a film production company called Caviar Film Productions, which one of their movies was called The Rider by none other than Chloe Zhao from Nomadland.
That's right.
And also worked on Nymphomaniac by Lars von Trier, which kind of makes sense because there's like a very, stripped down aesthetic to the film. And Darius Martyr also came out as saying that he really was into like the Dogma 95 movies, like Lars von Trier's movies and, Thomas Vinterberg's. Yeah. So he was really inspired by that. So you can really see it in this movie, I think, just kind of how stripped down and natural light it seems like it is always. And the movie was kind of tough to make because finance people kept pulling out of the movie. So even while they were in the middle of shooting, somebody would pull out and then he'd just have to call in favors. And it was, super low budget, and he insisted on shooting in 35 millimeter film. And, when he did the concerts, like actually have real crowds there. So I don't know. It is a very highly regarded film, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, but not as highly regarded as Paddington 2.
Nope, nothing will touch Paddington 2. And one more thing. Rhiz Ahmed, the actor who did a great job in the movie, he is not deaf. And I'm not sure of his exact connection to deaf culture, but he trained for 8 months for the film, learning American Sign Language every day for a couple hours, and then spending a couple hours doing drum lessons. And then, doing other actor things like acting coaches and like exercise and stuff. So get in shape. So he spent 8 months getting prepared for this film.
Interesting. He was amazing. Truly amazing.
Yeah.
His performance was astounding, I thought. He just really fucking nailed it on every level. Maybe the first similarity in a way is like the lead of both films had to do a lot of preparation to do the movie, whether it was deliberately or not. So like I think Barbara Ann Constable was a dancer like through her whole life, and I think you'd have to be a dancer to do all your own stunts and stuff. And so in a way she had to do a lot of prep, similarly to how Rhiz Ahmed had to do 8 months of prep for Sound of Metal. Yeah. So maybe that's true. That's the first one, That's the first one.
Yeah, so both movies, as we kind of discovered, are like a revision of a previous work. So Lady Terminator takes the story from Terminator and adds Lady to it, and then makes it about a sea witch instead of a robot from the future. It's a sea witch from the past, but it's a revision of the Terminator story. Similarly, Sound of Metal is a revision of like the Metalhead movie, which Derek C. and Francis make. So they both kind of took an older movie that either came out or didn't come out, and then they're like, we'll remake this.
That's a good one. Both films require the main character having, or not the main character, but characters having to hold something in order to do their job. So as a drummer, you have to have drumsticks, okay, to be a death metal drummer. And the guy protecting... actually, all the guys have to hold guns in order to fight off the Lady Terminator. And Lady Terminator uses guns as well.
It's her job.
It is her job. Her job is to Lady Terminate.
She is going after this pop star and then shooting a machine gun and stuff. And it's like, it's a living.
It would be fun to intercut, how Liam Neeson in Taken is like protecting a pop star.
Yes.
It'd be fun if you could like somehow try to cut both films together so that Liam Neeson is doing all the fighting against Lady Terminator. Wouldn't that be fun?
I feel like you could cut it up. I feel like there's enough
There's a way to
tiny
do
little edits in Taken franchise.
Like him jumping over a fence 72
like him
times.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. Do you have another similarity?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in both movies, there's overconfidence that causes problems that happen in the future. So in, Sound of Metal, he doesn't take care of his ears while he's drumming. He's kind of very confident that his hearing will be there with him forever, and then it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Lady Terminator, the guy at the beginning very confidently steals a ghost snake, that old chestnut, from the sex witch. And then, of course, as one should expect from that situation, his great-great-granddaughter is cursed. So,
yeah, that's a good one. Both have a couple who are on the move. So you've got the band, they tour in a bus, they're doing shows every night in different cities across the United States. And you have this couple running from the Lady Terminator in the film Lady Terminator.
Yes, the titular Lady Terminator.
Yeah, the titular Lady Terminator. And so, yeah, I would also say both films have like a meta relationship to metal. Okay. So metal isn't a physical substance. It is a genre of music in the Sound of Metal. And also, dare I say, it's a reference to the sound, the electronic sound, once he gets the implant in his head.
Yeah.
So that it goes around his hearing canal. And so that's sort of like, there's like a meta relationship to metal in both senses. And then in Lady Terminator, they're referencing a metal robot, but she isn't metal. She's a sex witch goddess from the ocean.
Exactly. Yeah, there's like a meta relationship there because they want to convince you that she's a robot Terminator, but they're not going to go that far to say she's a robot Terminator, even though she shoots like electricity and stuff.
Yes.
And speaking of electricity, I mean, Sound of Metal, when he gets his implants, he's kind of like has sound kind of electrically going into his skull, which is kind of how he hears it.
That surgery scene was very hard to watch.
Yeah, that's pretty grim.
It was visceral, and the way they built the film, like as it was happening, it's just like you knew that was the wrong move.
Yeah,
for him,
Yeah.
That was ugh. And he's taking the bandage off. Yuck. I guess both films have a very sort of scenes with intense gruesomeness.
Well, also somebody manipulating one of their senses.
What?
Like Lady Terminator, she cuts her eye out.
Oh,
and
right.
Like polishes it in the sink or whatever.
Well, I dare I say both of those are surgeries.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess the eyeball I love. She pulls it out. She's like cutting.
Yeah.
And then she just pulls it out, plops it. She doesn't place it in the water. She drops it in the water and it goes plop. And then she just puts it right back in there. And then she blinks and she's like, 2020, baby. Got 2020 vision.
Gotta clean your laser eye.
I know I do. I know you do. Your laser eye's looking a little dusty these days.
Oh, then you notice. Yeah, and then also, in the Sound of Metal, like he gets ear surgery, right? So his senses are being manipulated via some sort of surgery, just as she does her own like homemade surgery, I guess, on her eyeball, as one does.
Yes, and both scenes are gruesome.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And both films also sort of have a reference or a direct depiction of an M16 rifle. So all of the characters fighting in Lady Terminator are using M16 rifles. And the guy who's like in charge of the deaf community where Rhiz Ahmed's character goes to learn sign language and like learn to be deaf, he is a Vietnam War veteran. And he lost his hearing at the war, and the standard issue rifle was an M16.
Right. Good connection.
Yeah, that one was loose. I was like, this is a stretch. Let's see how...
Those are the best ones.
Yeah. Really, really specific and also irrelevant. But that's how I roll.
Both films are about transformation and adaptation. Because, obviously he transforms his life after he loses his hearing. And then she transforms from a archaeologist into a Lady Terminator. But then also he adapts to being deaf, and then she adapts to the future world because she's a sea witch in a archaeologist's body. She is adapting to the future world that she doesn't really know anything about.
Both films have, people who are horny for each other.
Yes.
Okay. And so there's lots of horniness in Lady Terminator, but, the band, they're also a couple, and they cohabitate in an Airstream. And, there's a couple scenes where they're spooning, and one can assume that they would get, they're sexy on every once in a while in the back of that Airstream. So, yeah, there's another similarity.
Are Airstreams like a thing?
Yeah, they're coming back.
Are they?
Yeah, they're quite hip. A lot of people who want to do like van living will like build an Airstream out and make it modern on the inside.
I guess these characters are no different than Nomadland. They're kind of Nomadland characters, kind of.
In a way, the two characters are also nomads in Lady Terminator because they can't stay in one place for too long because the fucking Lady Terminator will show up and start shooting lasers and electric bolts and bullets and lots of bad business.
Also, both movies are about the music world, kind of. Because there's a pop star in Lady Terminator.
Right.
Sound of Metal, obviously.
Both films also have a character out of their element. So Rhiz Ahmed is out of his element. He needs to acclimate to like being deaf and like how to get by and communicate. The pop star is not used to guns, being chased, someone attempting to kill her. And so, yeah. Take that, Mike. That's the best one yet.
In both movies, the haircuts are central to the vibe, if I can say.
Yes.
Because Rhiz Ahmed's character has an iconic blonde dye job in the movie.
Yeah, which also Ryan Gosling has in The Place Beyond the Pines. Another sort of like, I feel like Derek Cianfront's DNA. It's like bleach blonde tattooed guys is kind of like a thing in that whole, school of cinema.
He loves them tips frosted.
Yeah. Big frosted tips fella.
Well, I mean,
and tattoos and a smattering of like poorly done tattoos.
If you look up Darius Martyr and Derek Cianfront beside each other, they kind of look like, I guess they don't have a lot of tattoos, but I don't know. They just look like the type of guys who would write characters like that. It's like, oh, they got to have frosted tips.
Darius Martyr kind of just looks like a dad.
But like a Gen X dad.
Yeah. Does he have tattoos? Let me see. No, he's got very hairy arms, but no tattoos.
And anyway, so like the frosted tips, very iconic part of the Sound of Metal.
Yes.
And then in Lady Terminator, it's all about the mullets. Everybody's got a mullet.
Right. Actually, there was a review. Let me see. There's a review I want to read really quickly about this film. So, here we go. So Cliff Dorkson of the Chicago Reader called the film the kind of movie best randomly discovered on cable at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
But if you dig guys with mullets, director Jute Jalil has some serious treats in store for you.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, the mullets add to the fun.
Yeah, it seems like it
should be called Mullet Terminator because she's terminating all these mullets.
I mean, yeah, she's definitely subtracting mullets from the world.
And hot dog eaters.
I don't really have too many more. In a way, I would say Sound of Metal is kind of a mockbuster in that it was like very low budget version of another movie. Which I kind of already talked about a little bit, but yeah, it was true. Like another movie that Derek Cianfront made, and it was like a cheaper version of that, made with actors. And then, yeah, obviously, we discussed Lady Terminator is a mockbuster.
And I think, actually, I don't know what the budget was of Lady Terminator. I couldn't find that anywhere, but I assume it was made pretty cheaply.
They were probably both extremely low budget films.
Both films, I don't know if I said this already, but both films have a couple being put through the ringer. Just really being tested, like it's a tumultuous time, a lot of, sort of trials and tribulations that they have to endure. And that's sort of the central focus of both films.
Good.
Yeah.
Both of the main characters, I guess, of both movies stop at nothing in that, Lady Terminator kills everybody, has sex with everybody, just kind of does whatever to accomplish her goal. Similarly, he wants to get his hearing back, so he sells literally everything he has to get his hearing back. Like he gives up everything he has, even giving up the comfort of the like deaf rehab center that he's at.
Yeah, and his solidarity.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Because he was like having a good time there. He was enjoying himself.
Oh, and he was like, people were benefiting from him being there. That scene, you know, like when he has the party, he's in France and he's at the party, and everyone, it just, that was such a beautiful illustration of what he had turned away from.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, I want to be, you know, quote unquote, like I was. I want to be normal again, or whatever, within his eyes. And he realized that it just wasn't going to work. Yeah. You know, and that party scene was really sort of gut wrenching because of that. Because you have the scenes where he's with the like school kids and they're all playing and having fun and everyone's learning, and the school teacher was like giving him flirty eyes and stuff. And then in France, he just realized like he can't communicate with anyone and he's not feeling whole anymore, even though the thing he was chasing he got, and then he still didn't feel better, right? Yeah, he in a way restored his hearing. Yeah, just beautiful film, really well done.
This isn't our funniest episode.
No, absolutely not. But it's like whatever.
Yeah, it's a sad film, but also kind of life affirming.
Yeah, absolutely.
In both movies, a character says, "Come with me if you want to live." So in Lady Terminator, somebody actually says that line.
The guy, the blonde cop,
the blonde guy says it. And it's kind of stolen directly from Terminator. And in The Sound of Metal, nobody actually says the line, but the character Joe, Paul Ratchie's character, he basically says that through his actions by saying, "Come with me if you want to live." He saves Rhiz Ahmed's character's life.
I guess you could say both films have a character who, if they weren't there, the main character wouldn't be able to survive.
Yeah.
Or like change, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's like a major plot similarity and character similarity between the two films that is crucial to both films working the way they do.
Agreed.
Oh frick, what else do I have? Both films have very loud noises. So Metal is very loud and noisy, and there's lots of explosions, guns, people dying, also very noisy.
The Sound of Metal.
One might say, yeah, there's a literal sound of metal in Lady Terminator and a proverbial sound of metal.
Yeah. They blow up metal.
Yes.
And they crash cars. Also metal.
Or half cars, according to the lead actor of Lady Terminator.
So there is the sound of metal in Lady Terminator, but is there Lady Terminator in the Sound of Metal?
Ooh, good question. I mean, no, there isn't a Lady Terminator.
Not even a metaphorical one?
No, I'm trying to think. There's a Lady Terminator in the sense that I don't know that they're ever able to like be a band again.
Yeah.
You know, and that his perspective has shifted, and I don't know if he wants to live in the world of wealth and opulence in France with his lady.
Yeah, so his girlfriend and bandmate terminates the band.
Yes.
So she's a Lady Terminator in a way, I guess.
I think she is.
So there we go.
She is the Lady Terminator.
So both movies kind of have a titular thing in the other movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
There we go.
That took some serious work.
That was a collaboration.
That was. Wow. Look at you and me, huh? The Lady Terminator kept wearing different outfits. How? Where was she getting these clothes? Yeah. And does Lady Terminator sweat and have BO if she's like a sea demon witch?
I don't know. Does she does she go shopping?
Does she have money?
A lot of questions. How does she eat? Does she need to eat? Probably not. I think she's like a mortal or something.
Yeah, like a demon.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I still feel very strongly that Sound of Metal should have won Best Picture.
I agree. Yeah, I think it was better than Nomadland by a long stretch.
I went into Nomadland thinking like, wow, this film will be like just a revelation, and it wasn't. And then Sound of Music, I had zero expectations, and it just it rocked my world.
You called it Sound of Music.
Oh, Sound of Metal. I mean, Sound of Music's a great movie too.
Oh, I wonder if there's a lot of similarities between Sound of Metal and Sound of Music.
Should we have done that instead? Two good movies?
Yeah, I mean, she comes from a different world and joins another group of people. So, instead of the deaf camp, it's the Von Trapp children.
Right.
She teaches those people some things, and then while she's there, she also learns a little bit about herself, not unlike Sound of Metal.
That's true. And the Lady Terminator in The Sound of Music is fascism.
That's right, yeah.
Spreading throughout, where are they? Bavaria? Or
Bavaria is where Werner Herzog's from.
Really?
Yeah. So it'd be great if everybody talked like him in The Sound of Music.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Good night, farewell to you and you and you. Ooh.
The Do-Re-Mi song sung by Werner Herzog. Oh, legendary. Oh my God. Ugh. I will say maybe we should talk about the sound in both of these films and how they're exactly polar opposites. The sound is so specific and well designed in The Sound of Metal, not music, metal. And in Lady Terminator, it is the sloppiest shit show of sound you've ever heard. The sound's all over the place. The volume, probably a mono track. The dubbing is terrible and all over the place. And it kind of sounds not as bad as A Talking Cat, the VO and A Talking Cat, but kind of in the same category.
Yeah. I mean, you could...
Not Bathroom Echo, but like still pretty shitty.
You could say that there's a connection between the two films in that there's chaotic sound in both. Like the sound design is chaotic, in its own way.
Totally. And the sound is sort of viscerally upsetting in both films.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, that's a good one.
Lots of kind of bad music. Yeah, bad sound mix, bad dubbing. And maybe that was intentional.
Both films were shot on film, too.
That's correct, yeah.
Yes. That's a weak one, but I said it anyway.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it is weak, but it is also true.
I think it's not weak if one of the films is like very recent and shooting on film is an obviously deliberate choice, whereas they had no choice with Lady Terminator.
It is wild how far away we've gone from film in such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whenever I watch a movie that was shot on film now, it looks so old.
Mm-hmm. It looks old, you're right.
It does kind of look weird and old. Yeah.
Well, you were saying when you watched Sound of Metal, you felt the visual like it was low, like it wasn't a clean looking movie.
It was it was gritty looking, but we also watched it on Hoopla. Which is like the video streaming app that the library kind of has connection to. So we didn't
they probably have the lowest
pay to watch
quality.
it. And it was probably like a 720p resolution, blown up to 4K. So it was a bit potatoey. Yeah. But
and
it was
I
still
watched
watchable.
On Crave,
yeah.
And it was in 1080, bumped up to 4K, and it looked great. It was beautiful.
I probably should have waited.
Yes, you should have. But the I thought the cinematography was just very beautiful in Sound of Metal. I thought the cinematography was kind of fun in Lady Terminator. Like they really pushed style. Like they, especially scenes where the Lady Terminator's like by herself and naked for no reason, and they would light her in a really sort of moody, contrasty, a lot of blues, steely blues and stuff. And that was kind of fun.
It was kind of the era. Like that's kind of how a lot of movies were lit in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, hey, we just
lighting
discovered
that's
color.
Unmotivated.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, they're polar opposites in terms of approach visually.
Yeah. Yeah. The lighting was seemed very planned out in Lady Terminator. Whereas, it seemed like they just kind of were using available light for Sound of Metal a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, big part of Sound of Metal that I loved was every time he had to go up into that little room and like write in his diary, which was part of like his rehabilitation there.
Mm-hmm.
He had a donut on the table, and that donut looked good.
It did. Did you? Would you have smashed the donut, or would you have smashed it in your mouth?
I would have smashed it in my mouth, or I would have smashed it like, when people say I'd smash. I would smash that donut.
I want a donut now. Yeah, that donut looked great.
The donut looked really good.
He's like, I'll have coffee on for you and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's great. What a solid he's doing for this character. Just like nice donut. And also, it's so bad for you. Eating a donut every day with your fucking coffee, that is not a healthy routine, but also, whatever.
But also, I guess another similarity, donuts in Lady Terminator off screen, because donuts are implied when there's cops, I guess is what I'm saying.
Totally. I think hot dogs and donuts are in the same genre of food.
Go on.
And there's plentiful hot dog in Lady Terminator. In fact, there's more dead bodies than hot dogs, but there's a lot of hot dogs. So shut up and eat. And similarly, I think maybe Rhiz Ahmed is told to shut up and eat his donut.
Yeah.
And, it's like, instead of eat your vegetables, it's eat your dang donut and write down on this paper and start healing, and the cops are shutting up and eating hot dogs and they're fighting crime.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, where do I get a donut like that? I really want that donut. For some reason, I was obsessed with the donut when I was watching the movie.
Interesting. I didn't even think about it at all. I was just like, hey, that donut's holding up pretty well after getting fucking smashed. It's like holding its shape. But I guess it's the type of donut. It's not like the deep fried donut. It's the baked donut.
Oh,
like the thick buddy that's got to get dunked in the coffee.
Yeah, donuts are so good.
Oh my god, should we go for donuts after this? Holy shit!
Yeah, that'd be good.
I could crush a donut.
What's the best donut?
I love me a honey glazed.
Sounds good.
Just your classic honey glazed, but I also like that white one, like the powdery outside and the jelly on the inside. And also chocolate dip is good. I love me a chocolate dip, and then an apple cruller is also great. And technically not a donut, but at Tim Hortons they sell them with.
Oh, there's a honey cruller, and then there's an apple fritter.
Apple fritter is what I'm thinking. Honey cruller, not good. Apple fritter, absolutely delicious.
Wow, you have betrayed me.
What's the worst donut?
Not the honey cruller. That's one of the best.
You've betrayed me.
I actually think one of the worst donuts is the jam-filled ones.
Really? Interesting. Yeah, they're hard to eat. I'll admit that. But some things are worth fighting for, Mike.
But a good donut sometimes is the just the ones that's like thick, really doughy, doesn't have any sort of like
shit on it,
stuff on it. Yeah, it's just like it's just a classic round hole, classic donut. Eating my donut on the toilet. Hey, pass me another donut so I can eat it on the toilet.
Yes, that's good.
But those are good donuts. I also like the one that he was eating in the movie. I was like, ooh, that looks good. Where it's like big, pillowy, and it's got a lot of sugar on it.
Yeah,
like a good
but
sugar
it wouldn't
donut.
Be overly sweet. You don't want so you like a little more savory donut.
Savory donut. What's a savory donut?
Well, no, just because that donut he had wasn't a super sweet donut. That's like your classic donut. The old school, like 1930s American donut is like baked, not fried.
Right.
And it's meant for dunking in coffee.
And he didn't do it.
No, he dunked it in his fist, but he didn't dunk it in his coffee.
Yeah. I mean, but it still looked good. I don't know. I thought it was I guess because of the low res video I was watching, maybe. It was so pixelated. I thought it was a sugar
resolution. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a sugar donut because it was so low resolution. Yeah, that's what it was.
No, it's like your classic cake donut.
Yeah.
But like not super sweet.
You ever go to Take 5 here in Edmonton?
No, what's that?
It is a old school like cafe kind of styled donut place.
Oh.
Like, if you imagine like a donut place in a small town.
Yes.
Where you just go into a place and they sell donuts. Like, you ever been to the donut mill in Red Deer?
Oh, you bet your bottom.
Yeah, so it's like that, but here in Edmonton.
Where is it? Is it good?
It's on 118th Ave and 50th Street. However, I think maybe because of the pandemic or just coincidentally, they are going out of business now.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So
fuck.
So they might have been bought by somebody. I don't know the full story, but anyway, Take 5 is a great place to just get some like good classic like old school donuts that are not Tim Hortons. Because
I'm bummed out.
Yeah, what are the donut options you got here in Edmonton? We got Donut Party, I guess, but
yeah, but those like big like party donuts are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're good, but they're a bit much. They're a bit extra.
But you know when you just want a donut and a coffee? Like imagine he's like getting up to write in the notebook and it's like a fucking giant donut party and there's like cheesecake on top of the donut. And then on top of that is like a Dairy Queen Blizzard ice cream cake.
Ooh, that's.
And you're like, good. What? This is one donut? And it's like, yeah, buddy, start smashing it with your fist and start writing in this book.
And I cuts himself on a piece of Oreo on his ice cream cake donut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Oreo's the Lady Terminator of the film. Then I just want to bring it back to Lady Terminator. It didn't really work. That was a failed attempt. I'll admit it. That was rough. That was a rough go.
Do you like Boston cream? We're just talking about donuts now. We're not talking about the movies anymore.
I loathe Boston cream. I think that's the worst donut.
Wow.
Fucking disgusting donut.
Wow.
But you'll eat a filled donut.
I like filled donuts, but only creamy. It's got to be creamy. Like Boston cream is good, or it's got to be filled with whipped cream. Like you get I think they're called Long Johns, maybe.
Oh, you know what? I'll eat a Long John.
A Long John filled with icing or with
with whipped cream.
Oh, wait, yeah, that's good.
But I will not eat like a Boston cream that's like Donair sauce but sweet and for a chocolate donut. I don't want that. Like that texture of like. Ugh,
that creaminess you don't like?
Yeah, that creaminess is gross. But I'll do whipped cream.
Okay. Good
I like my cream whipped.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I prefer a whipped cream to a Boston.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad we agree on this. Should we? Maybe this is a good way to round out the episode. Maybe we describe each character. Well, not all of them, but like the major players in each film as what would they be if they were a donut?
Okay, sure, go for it. Yeah.
Oh, you seem not into it.
No, I mean, you go first. I'd like to hear.
Okay,
I'd like to hear you do it.
Okay, so I think Rhiz Ahmed's character is.
He's the donut that he had.
No, I was going to say the donut that he had is the guy, the Vietnam veteran.
Oh, okay. Well, he was punching that guy. Then it represented the man.
Well, totally. And doesn't it represent like the choice he has to make? And he's like, he'd rather destroy it. You know, like when they're sitting at the table and he's like, you look like an addict. Like I'm staring at an addict right now. And him being told that, like Rhiz Ahmed's character didn't want to hear that, but it was the truth. And smashing that donut is sort of symbolic of sort of like he's at a crossroads.
Right.
And he can either like live in this deaf community and grow in it, or he can chase hearing again his past life, you know? And I think the donut is sort of instead of a Y-shaped, a fork, it's a circle because life is a circle, but then you got to take detours.
Wow,
sometimes you fall in the middle.
This is some deep-ass donut talk.
That's the only donut talk I do. And then I think Lady Terminator would be a Boston cream because I hated the Lady Terminator and I hate Boston cream.
Okay.
But the main cop who's protecting the pop singer, he's a Long John.
Of course he is, yeah.
And then the pop singer is a Timbit, the confetti cake Timbit.
Yeah, confetti cake Timbit. That sounds good.
Yeah. I'm also really hungry as of recording this podcast. Holy
you
shit.
live fairly close to a Tim Hortons.
I do, actually. Three blocks away. There's a Tim Hortons. I'm not going to go. I have some self-control.
Good. But, oh, man, that would be good to have some donuts right now. All this talk of donuts make me want to eat a donut.
Oh, fuck. Are you getting a donut after this?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay. Well, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, we should figure out how to wrap this puppy up. We should box this baker's dozen of donuts.
Well, I mean, we can go back to the classic saying of "this feels over."
So like rude, but also true, and yeah, it does feel over, doesn't it?
It does feel over. I think we did a good analysis of these two films. I'm glad we covered Lady Terminator finally, and we talked about how The Sound of Metal was kind of one of the better movies last year, if not the best movie, at least in the running for the Oscars.
It's a great movie. I think if anything, people should just take away, like, if you haven't seen Sound of Metal, watch it. It's absolutely worth it. It's an astonishing film.
And watch it with, like, good sound setup if you have it.
Either cans over your ears or a nice sound bar or a big speaker situation, because the sound is like, it really seals the deal.
It is kind of an interesting proposition in that the movie is about deaf people, but in order to illustrate that, you have to be able to hear the movie to really, really appreciate the film. So
totally,
kind of like a strange mixed bag for people who are deaf. They like can't fully experience the movie.
No, that's absolutely true. But I think maybe something that I liked was for the majority of the film, they didn't subtitle the sign language.
No, that was actually kind of cool.
And I was like, ooh, that's a nice touch. So that's something like a deaf viewer could sort of like be able to get more out of watching the film than we would for those portions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are chunks of the film that are like totally silent. Like there's nothing to listen to, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you're right. It is a mixed bag. But I loved that they didn't subtitle the sign.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Great. Well, thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah.
And don't forget to follow us on social media from Justin to Kane with the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
On
just
Twitter.
like Mike did before this episode recording.
Yeah.
Big number 2.
Big number 2. Yeah. So at Justin to Kane with the number 2 on Letterboxd, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And also go on Apple Podcasts and give us a 5 stars, please.
Yeah, or 4, but not less than that.
No less than 4, please.
But preferably 5.
Preferably 5. Just feel generous, you know. But yeah, thanks for listening, and that's good. Episode over, I guess.
See ya.
Bye.